What's going on, Broncos Country? We've got a trade mailbag for everyone today. It's always fun to, play a little bit of Madden, even if it's not always a super most realistic thing out there. I take the trades that you guys suggested over on our community tab, throw them on screen, and we break them down and kind of get to the nuts and bolts of whether or not this trade could really happen. So, the first trade idea on today's show comes in from VADR. We've got an interesting trade idea. Andrew Van Ginkel, the linebacker for the Dolphins, for Lloyd Cushenberry and KJ Hamler. Now, as we all know who Andrew Van Ginkel is, right? A household name, of course. Now, he's been maybe a little bit more of an underappreciated player on the Dolphins, who last year were probably on the defensive side a little bit underappreciated. But guy had 4 sacks, 9 tackles for loss a season ago. He's definitely an ascending player at a position of need for Denver, which is the linebacker spot. But is he worth giving up a starting center and a rising, hopeful wide receiver? Probably not, especially if I'm looking through the lens of George Paton right now. How much does he value inside linebacker? Not all that high. You go back to the draft last year, first 2 picks, Nick Bonito and Greg Dulcich. He went edge and tight end. He passed on some notable inside linebackers. Nakobe Dean, Troy Anderson, Leo Chenal, Chad Muma, right? There were some guys out there, if I remember correctly, who, I maybe got one of those 2 wrong, but the point stands. George Paton has shown that he's not all that interested in either putting a bunch of draft assets into linebackers or free agent money into linebackers. I would pass on this trade. I don't think that it's a good idea to go out and get Russell Wilson and trade away the starting center who he's been training with all summer. It doesn't seem like a very smart move. And I'm still in on KJ Hamler, right? Second-round pick who unfortunately had an ACL injury last season and has not looked the best so far. But in 16 games, 35 receptions, 455 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think this year with Russell Wilson, he might be a diet Tyler Lockett. Now, as for Lloyd Cushenberry, his Pro Football Focus grades last year were not the best, middle of the pack. 21st out of 39 starting centers or qualifying centers. If you do 21 out of 32 starting centers, yeah, that's the back half of the league. But I'm optimistic that Cush can take a step forward this year. He's been killing it so far throughout the offseason and into training camp, and I think a little bit of a reset this year with everyone up in their game with the guy Russell Wilson in town. He can be a more reliable center. But what position would you want the Broncos to trade for? I think inside linebacker makes a lot of sense, like this guy was getting after, VADR, but I don't think it's worth trading away a starter and a good depth wide receiver who could be, a guy waiting in the wings to really soar with Russell Wilson and be on the other end of some of those moonball passes that we know Russ can just drop on a dime. Now, this next trade idea comes in from Bleacher Report, who suggested that, once again, the Broncos trade Malik Reed away, and they didn't have anything coming back to Denver, so I'll speculate and say Malik Reed's probably worth a day 3 draft pick. You're not going to get a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, a 5th, 6th. 6 is probably more in the range for Malik Reed. Now, I've got some pros and cons to trading Malik Reed because this has been a discussion we've had before on the show. Pro number 1, you only have 5 picks in 2023. If you can get some more assets for a guy that might ride the bench behind Nick Bonito, Baron Browning, Jonathan Cooper, Bradley Chubb, Randy Gregory, yeah, you might be looking into adding some more assets for the next draft. Another pro, like I said, might be buried on this depth chart. You've got Chubb, Gregory, probably Bonito, maybe Baron Browning. He's looked good at camp so far. He might be edge number 4 or 5, so he might not get all that much run anyway. Another pro, you get more snaps for Nick Bonito, right? This is the Broncos' last pick in round number 2, and you can get the rookie some extra snaps so he can progress and, become further along in his rookie season and not have his growth stunted a little bit. That's something I'm sure Hackett and Payton would be interested in. Now my 3 cons. You cannot bank on Randy Gregory and Bradley Chubb playing all 17 games. You can't. If anyone says you can, they have some beachfront property in Oklahoma to sell you. Also, you really want to trade away the team's sack leader from just 2 seasons ago? 8 sacks back in 2020? Another con, something GMs are really buying in on, you can never have enough depth at edge. You go back to the first con. What happens if Gregory or Chubb goes down? You really want to start looking away to trading pieces, and then you go, damn, really would have liked Malik Reed right now. I would wait to trade Malik Reed until mid-season. Get a sense of how Chubb and Gregory are looking. Sure, you might jinx it, but if after 3, 4, 5 weeks of the season, they're running at a high speed and they don't look like they're slowing down or they're going to hit any kind of injury, or they don't have lingering injuries necessarily, then you maybe look to trade Malik Reed mid-season. Now, unfortunately, his value might dip a little bit if he's not playing at all during the regular season, but at least that way you keep your bases covered if an injury were to happen. But I want to know this. Would you trade Malik Reed? He has probably been the most popular trade candidate for the Broncos this offseason. Drop a simple T for trade or P for pass, guys, down below. Now, we got more trade ideas to get to in just a moment, but here at Chat Sports, we have a handful of NFL channels, and the Kansas City Chiefs is up on us. So let's catch them, right? We've got some work to do, but I believe in Broncos Country. If you hate the Chiefs, or better yet, if you're looking for a Broncos YouTube channel to give you the best coverage, I like to think, at least my mom says so, then make sure you click that sub button and get locked in. This next trade idea comes in from Tom, who suggests a wild one. The Broncos get safety Jessie Bates. The Bengals get the Broncos 2023 third-round pick. They have two, Caden Stearns, Mike Purcell, and Michael Ojemudia. To me, this trade feels a little bit like fantasy football, where you try to sell your buddy who doesn't actually keep the tabs very close on fantasy. Like, if I just give him a bunch of players, it sounds like it's fair. The Bengals really want a backup safety, a backup nose tackle, and a backup corner for one of the best safeties out there? Probably not. Actually, definitely not. The only way I could see a Jessie Bates trade happening for something that's not even worth what he's worth is you got to look at, hey, Cincinnati might have a ton of leverage because he's holding out of camp right now, awaiting that new contract. And right now the Bengals are getting more national attention than ever before, which is sort of spotlighting and highlighting things that Bengals fans have known for a while, which is ownership is cheap. They have the worst practice facility. I mean, producer Patrick Seatman right now went to Xavier in Cincinnati. Don't they have to walk across a highway to get to their practice field? No indoor practice facility. It's embarrassing. There are colleges with better practice facilities than the Bengals. They may not be interested in paying Bates this kind of money, right? When you look at the top paid safeties right now in the NFL, I'm guessing they don't want to break the checkbook out and give him Justin Simmons-esque money. Now, it would be pretty fun, I've got to admit. I mean, this is Madden we're talking about right now. If you paired Justin Simmons with Jessie Bates, that would be undoubtedly the best safety duo in the history of the NFL, right? I'm trying to go through Atwater. There has never been a safety duo that would compare to Simmons and Bates. It would be just Aqib Talib. No, there's nothing like it. So that would be fun. I wish that would happen. I would do it in a heartbeat. The Bengals are not going to do that. All right, next trade idea comes in from Tyrone, longtime watcher and subscriber and commenter here at the channel. Tyrone suggested the Broncos trade for Devin Bush in exchange for a 2023 fourth-round pick. So Bush, former first-round pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers, had a good start to his career last year. Wasn't pretty. He was not a very good linebacker. Linebacker stats are always a little bit tough to evaluate because you go, that's not so bad. 70 tackles, a forced fumble, forced pass breakups. Yeah, but when you're the middle linebacker and the play is funneled to you, you're expected to get a lot of tackles. He missed a lot of them. If you have a Steelers friend in your friend group or whatever, ask him about Devin Bush last year. You're not going to get glowing reviews. I also will add this here. I don't think George Paton, I don't think he should, and he cannot just mortgage the future for 2022. I have been beating the drum of getting more competition and depth at the inside linebacker position, and I'm not saying this in response to I would not do that trade, but just I want it to be known and verbalized. You don't trade one of your 5 picks remaining in hopes of winning the Super Bowl this year, and if you come up short, you go into next year with 3 to 4 picks, and it's not promising all of a sudden. So I just think file that back in the tickler section of your brain of, yeah, maybe don't trade every single pick away. Like, I know it worked for the Rams, But if the Rams lost, oh boy, how ugly it would be right now. All right, another trade idea coming in from Tyrone. This one I think is just swinging for the fences here. Broncos getting a 3rd and a 6th round pick, while the Texans get Graham Glasgow and a 7th rounder. Yeah, the Texans say no in a heartbeat here. It would be fun for the Broncos to add some extra picks to their current arsenal for 2023. They've just got 2/3, a 4th, a 5th, and a 7th. Without a 1st and a 2nd, that belongs to Seattle. But the Houston Texans are not offering you 2 picks for a center or a guard right now who might not even start, who took a pay cut this past offseason because he knew that was his only option if he wanted to stay on this Broncos roster. So I appreciate the trade suggestion, Tyrone, but I think you got some issues with the Houston side of that trade if they want to ever agree to that. Now, before we wrap up and get out of today's show, I really want to appreciate all of you for clicking onto today's show, and I want to just give a quick shout out to everyone who's came this far in the video. We like to do this every once in a while. It's the end of the video squad. Comment, let's ride. Broncos Country, let's ride. Russ is very good at quarterback. He should not have a career in billboard video jumbotron videos. That was not for him. But hey, comment let's ride if you made it all the way this far in the video. And Broncos Country, we'll see you later.